not about sharing, but I suppose the thing I've learned is that so many times when I am in a review capacity or whatever, it's like, I've got the best model. Come and see my model. It's better than your model. And it's like, it's not about the tools. It's about the modeler. So people might come to you and say, we've got this model and it can do X. That's fine, but it's really dependent on the people who are using the tool and their ability to understand how you can use that tool to answer the question. And that might be that it's a way that people have not thought about. You know, like you can use a shifting spanner as a hammer. It wasn't designed for that, but you can still use it. You know, does it give you the same result? Yeah, probably, but you might not be able to use the shifting spanner again. You know, but the models are very similar. Is that, you know, they're there to represent and simplify the real world, and they do it in many different ways. And I remember the first time I took the music modelling software to Tasmania, which, you know, that's a foreign concept first, but then trying to use it in agriculture. And people say, oh, you can't use it, it's an urban model, because it's got urban in the name. So what? You know, it's still a process model. It's still trying to understand what happens when rain falls on the land and you get runoff. So that well, maybe rain falls differently in Tasmania. It certainly falls differently in WA. If you ever work in WA, remember that the rain falls differently in WA.
What, the direction that comes, or?
I don't know, but yeah, us East Coasters don't know anything about what a model when you go to the West Coast.
That's because there's no rain in WA.
And it all goes away, it doesn't run off. But look, you know, as modelers, if you're new in the field, or even if you're experienced in the field, don't be afraid to use the tools in different ways that people might not have thought about. Because it's about answering the question, it's not about the model.
No, look, that's good. But actually, answering questions. I didn't get a chance to introduce Abel early on. Abel's sort of been a water sort of guru specialist, sitting in the background, scheming, doing all sorts of interesting roles. But he's got a gift as a very good advisor to a range of sort of serious decision makers. He's been involved in a bit of Murray-Darling work, was at the Queensland Water Commission, was at Queensland Urban Utilities, trying to look into the future, and always has some very interesting and provocative insights. But I suppose in a pragmatic way, Abel, for some of the work that you've done over the years where you've had to give some strategic advice, what has the role of a model done for you?
Yeah, I guess the risk of being an advisor is people have a habit of in one ear and out the other. So the question we often get asked as advisors is, how do you substantiate that? How do you stand by what you've said? Is it just a gut feeling sort of stuff? And I must admit there have been times when I have been faced with just that and having to fess up. But more often than not, when it comes to something like an inquiry, and more recently with the Murray-Darling Basin stuff that I was involved in an inquiry, we had to then go back to what were the models that the decision makers in each of the states were using in compliance with the Basin Plan. And secondly, how was that information then taken by the Commonwealth Government in assessing compliance of each of the states? So it then came back to the models. And I just want to echo Tony's statement about there was the big difference between competence, as in a lot of the modelers had PhDs in modelling, but the capability of understanding what it is that they were trying to do, the purpose behind that modelling, a lot of them didn't get. I must also say that there was a lot of noise around the Murray-Darling Basin, and partly because we know it's the whole spectrum from droughts to floods. We're not even pausing on the way from one flood to a drought. So in that context, the capability of the modeler in understanding that's the paradigm. We've got boundaries between droughts to floods. The issues that the media raises are of microscopic level as against the macroscopic basin-wide compliance. So you've got these things. And then you've got the big problem of how does this society deal with this long-term issue? So in time, the plan is actually talking about a sustainable basin in 20 to 30 years' time. But the decisions that have been made today are questioned because of the outcomes of today. So you have this big time step issue. So the genius in the modelers is the modeler knows the tool, but also the product at the end. And they have to be able to give that narrative And I think the question that came up in an earlier one is, do decision makers need to understand models? Most definitely. Just as the modeler needs to know what the decision is going to be.
No, that's an interesting insight. Okay, so we've definitely got this great sort of skill set here. But look, in introducing Monica, Monica's company sort of just started up how many years ago now?
6.
6 years. So, okay, it wasn't yesterday, but between the time, and I know between Blake and Monica, they've actually gone through a really challenging period to actually build a team of modelers, and sort of in her sort of CEO recruiting role, what is it that you look for in, because some of you, you might want to come and work for this interesting company. Bonnie's down here, she can tell you why she enjoys to go to work each day, but no, seriously, if for you to try and recruit a great team of people, what's the approach, and what is it that you look at for people working in a company like yours?
I think generally the variety. We've learned that we can't have people with just one certain skill set, and across the board of mostly modelers, with Blake and myself in sort of the management role where we don't do any hands-on modelling anymore.
Mind you, you both had very much deep experience hands-on.
Definitely, and I stopped doing hands-on modelling 3 months ago, which was everyone in the team was laughing, thinking that I would have withdrawals, which was probably partly true. The knowledge sharing and people being open, and I guess sort of echoing what Tony was referring to as well before, we work as a team, and it's not having exceptional individuals is great, obviously, but in terms of the consulting work we do, and also significant money or portion of the revenue being spent on research and development, no one is going to be doing it alone, and that's been even more eye-opening for me, I guess, not doing the hands-on work anymore, and actually relying, delegating to get the feedback from people. And it's amazing to see, when I started, my technical career really stopped pretty quickly after 7 years. I thought I would be doing the hands-on modelling and scripting and coding for much longer, but the opportunity came up to join Blake, and it was just too good to say no to, probably sort of once in a lifetime opportunity to do that. But yeah, relying on the strengths of others is a very, very important thing, and the openness. I think that we've been doing some staff interviews not that long time ago. I think that about a week when they wrapped up, and to find out what our team thinks that we can do better. We are all very much in the learning process of how to run a business as well. So it's learning by doing, and picking yourself up when you fail. But one of the main things was the knowledge sharing and being able to rely on people. I know that I've worked in other companies, and also from talking to people working in other businesses where that culture isn't quite the same in terms of a lot of competitiveness about, if I share something, that person might be jumping ahead in terms of their career, and I would like to think that it's not something that we've got in our business, and encouraging the sharing for the good of everybody, including clients. So people, what got me out of bad initially was doing the hands-on modelling and nerding. Now it's just seeing people grow, and what the change can be when you actually empower people to do what you think they definitely can, but they might not realise themselves that they're able to.
Fantastic. Look, it's no, it is interesting because I suppose you're one of a few companies that are starting this area. Like, there seems to be a bit of an appetite to have more people, and I know to work in this space, and then within the government circle as well. I think there's certainly roles coming there, so it's certainly sort of an area that's got a lot of potential. But look, at this stage, I just wanted to throw it open to the floor. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to? You've heard a bit of a taste of the